Hi you guys, welcome to week 4 of Fast Focus in 35 days. Fast Focus in 35 days. So here's a little bit of a reminder and something that I always want to underline in this program. Its primary job is to get your business life going from an inside out perspective. There's an inner business life and there's an outer business life, and both are needed. So these 35 days, stay with it, keep doing it. It is having you be in your business consciousness, if you will, in terms of doing inner work, which then reflects the outer work. So welcome to week 4. Week 4 is a little bit longer than normal. Probably this video is going to be a little longer than normal. A little bit to go through. And this week is, this is the coming out week. We're up in the game on enrollment, meaning bringing people towards you, having people want to come work with you and hire you and all that stuff that we want, all those outcomes, right? So we are going in that territory, and into that territory, I should say. So week 4, dimensions of enrollment. Here's the key stake. Key stake. Enrollment is easy when you're passionate about your work. Enrollment is easy when you're passionate about your work. If it's feeling hard, it means you've drifted towards sales. In my language, you become a seller of something versus an enroller of your passion. Simple distinction there, but that's when it starts to get hard. Usually what's happening is you've lost the passion or you just don't know what to do, that's an easy fix, which we're going to get to here. Okay, week 4, dimensions of enrollment. And I love this word dimensions. Let me just underline that word for a second. Dimensionality. There's 3D, it's not strategic, it's not left, right, it's not linear. This is a 360 sort of looking at sort of the inside out perspective of what enrollment really is. There's certainly inner work to do, and then there's going to be outer expression of it to do this week, okay? So we're going to dive in. On page 1 and 2, we have some really good text. I'm kind of excited about this text that we wrote for you guys. Good copy on really what goes on with enrollment, what happens, where do we get stuck. And I just want to underline a couple things on page 2, some key distinctions that I want to offer. And I need my glasses for that. Enrollment is an art form rather than a perfectly planned strategy. Here's my bold thing I want to say. We use strategy and a perfect plan as an excuse to why we don't move forward. Or let me say it a different way. Like, oh, I don't have a plan yet, so I can't move forward. Or I need a better strategy so I can move forward. I'm all into plans and strategies. Oh my gosh, but let's not have it get in the way of showing up in the world and just being enrolling everywhere we go. Because by the way, let me underline that. Enrollment is an art form and we are doing it all the time. Of course, there's parties when you go to a party, you do chit chat, but then when people ask you what you do or what's going on in your life, that's in the land of enrollment, which we've talked about in the previous weeks. Rather than answering what you do, you start to answer what you're up to. That's an enrollment conversation. So this is an art form, not a strategy. I love these two. The orientation of enrollment comes from them versus the orientation of selling comes from you. Where do you orient yourself in terms of being in a conversation with somebody? When you're orienting towards them, the art of enrollment is activated. When you come from an orientation of selling or proving or earning, the orientation is from you. It doesn't mean, by the way, you don't say stuff. So it's not always over there asking them all these crazy questions, which are sometimes useful, but sometimes annoying. What it really is an orientation. You're aware of your impact, you're aware of your enthusiasm, you're aware of your energy, and what's the impact you're having on other people. So we're going to dive into that in just a minute, but that's on page 2. Go through these. The other thing I want you to do is to sit with these. There's actually a little homework assignment here. Sit with these distinctions for a few minutes. Contemplate them. Be with them. Consider them. Have an opinion about them. Like, let them digest inside you a little bit, okay? So rather than I'm convincing you right now, I'm actually asking you to find your way towards them, see if you can enroll yourself in them. Because once they're enrolled inside of you, it's easy to talk about. Okay, so let's dive into some other key concepts and content for this week. This is a broad stroke of the whole week, okay? We're going to get into this deeper as we move together through the year. We're going to look at these in a much deeper way, but I just wanted to give a broad stroke here of the whole concept of enrollment and what my core beliefs are about it. So we've borrowed the bigger game grid. In the middle is the word enrollment. I'm going to point up here to this one called be of service. We all know this concept, to be of service, to be of service. So every time you're thinking about a potential client or a client in front of you, how can you be of service to them? And by the way, you don't ask them usually how to be of service to them. You just offer it in the moment. That's obvious. We know this one. Just wanted to underline it. Okay, the next one, resonance and presence matters. Resonance and presence matters. Both of those things. So resonance is the inner life that you have because it's giving off an energy all the time. And I want to offer this idea. Be careful of thinking things that you can't ever have doubt, or you can't ever be concerned, or you're always supposed to have it together. That's trying to be sort of faux resonant. You're trying to pretend. You can be absolutely authentic with doubt and offer it as wisdom to somebody, that we all have doubt, and use that as a creative conversation to invite them into your world, rather than you have to be fully doubtless. So resonance is about authentic with self rather than you've got it together self. More to come on that idea, but just be careful if all of a sudden we're supposed to have it together, and I'm supposed to believe in my product every second, and I'm supposed to understand all that I do. It is not possible. To be authentic with yourself, with your cool stuff, or your wisdom, or your product, or your service, is what I want you to think about here. And then, of course, that has impact on presence. What they experience usually is how real we are, how authentic we are. Oh my gosh, they're just like me. So inner resonance of authentic self starts to activate inner resonance of their authentic self, which then becomes an attractor. Okay, good. Enough on that one. I could spend 6 months on that concept. I'm not going to do that right now. Making powerful distinctions. Great sales moment or enrollment moments are many times based on making a great distinction. And I'm always looking and I'm trying to find the words that offer the distinction between this and that. So the listener goes, oh, you're right. I've had those two worlds together, and you actually offer a solution to pull them apart. I need you. Just to give you some examples, there's one out there that was a famous book. It became a bestseller book. It was all about the distinction between power versus force. Power versus force. We can be forceful or we can be powerful. The entire book, the entire workshop series, that person's entire work was based on that one distinction, and they talked about it all the time. And of course, we all want to experience and have a sense of self that we feel powerful. We really don't want to be forceful because nobody wants to be forced upon. It's a key distinction. Became a huge sales tool, if you will, or an enrollment conversation. That's an example. Another simple one is money versus prosperity. Money's the cash, the green stuff, and prosperity is a way of living. How do I live a prosperous life? And yeah, I maybe need money to feel that I'm prosperous, but actually that's not necessarily true. There's a great distinction. So there's millions and millions of distinctions. I will keep offering them to you as I hear what you're up to. Keep playing with them. What are the distinctions you've got? Also, when you read an article, you read a book, there's always a great distinction in there many, many times that opens up the brain to, oh, right, there's the situation that I'm in. This person helps me pull those worlds apart and points me in a new direction. I'm all in. A key one, just because it just came to me in the coaching space, the personal development space, is happiness versus fulfillment, right? We have a culture that's addicted to happiness. It's not possible to be happy every day. There's ups and downs in life based on the circumstances. But fulfillment is a way of being with my circumstances. I have days where I feel very sad and I have melancholy about missing something, missing my dad, for example. It's a melancholic experience, wildly fulfilling to feel into missing my dad. That's fulfillment versus I'm not happy that he's gone. Great distinction. In that moment, people go, yeah, I want a life coach because you're going to help me have a fulfilling life, versus be happy all the time, I need you. There's another example. Okay, be a voice of their desired future. So it's the ability to sort of jump into somebody's head and imagine a future for them that they can't see. And this is where you start to make it up. Not the details, not that you're going to live in a perfect city, in a particular city, in a particular house, but you be the voice of the quality of the life that they're longing for. You be that voice in their head. Dare to dream it before they can dream it themselves. It's got to be authentic. It's got to feel real. But that energy of being a future for people that they can't see for themselves yet, dramatically enrolling. Chuck behind the counter here has the ability to dream a house before I can imagine it. And he enrolls me into the house that we're in right now, which is beautiful, but he could see it before I could see it. That was an enrollment conversation. Incredibly powerful. So powerful it had me move to where we live today, which is now beautiful and amazing, and love it. Bring aliveness and enthusiasm. I have this opinion, like, we're not enthusiastic enough sometimes. We try to be convincing, and we sort of lean into that over-explaining energy, which I could get into right now and tell you why this is all important, and by the way, my enthusiasm just got lost, right? Instead of like, no, this is the best thing since sliced bread. This enrollment thing matters. These distinctions matter. I'm going to help you with them. This is the way it works. Bringing enthusiasm to the work you do and why it matters to you. That is worth a lot. And people actually love to be around people who are enthusiastic about life. Just think about that, right? There's people who live life sort of the glass half full, and people who live life the glass is half empty. That's a distinction. And the glass half full people are sort of have enthusiasm for life. Okay, the next one, give them an experience. Classic. They have to try you on. They have to try you on. If you're in the one-on-one space primarily, they have to try you on. You have to do a sample session. You have to do a try me on, what do you think, that kind of thing. In our world, our 3-day big event that we do once a year is our try us on. We literally, at a low cost, give people a vast experience of what we're all about, what I believe, come into my world, and then that becomes the enrollment conversation for, hey, do you want to work with us for a year? That's a 3-day event. Big investment on our side. Totally fun, because I love the work. But that is a classic example of time and energy spent to actually enroll people into a sample and what we really do. And here's a tip. I'm starting to decide this is true. This is a year-long program we're in called Produce You. Big investment, both time and money. So it needs at minimum a couple of days of people experiencing us, Chuck and I, and the work we do, and you guys watching videos and all that we do at our event. So the longer the product you're selling, the longer it is, I think there's a correlation to the longer amount of time that you need to do the quote-unquote sample session or give them an experience. Selling one-on-one coaching, sample session, half hour. Then the people are buying half-hour increments. So there's a direct correlation that I'm starting to realize there. The next one, be the voice that's going on in their heads. This is a little different than be the voice of their future. Be the voice that's going on inside their heads. So this is sort of giving yourself permission to name what's going on for them. Of course, you ask them what's going on for them, but then you're kind of co-creating with them and being the voice of why they're stuck, what stuck means for them, what's going on, in their life from stuck. The classic example of this for me was 4 years ago. I reached out for help from a mentor who I knew of, and I won't go into the details about what was going on in my life, but I was stuck. I'd sort of reached the glass ceiling of business and glass ceiling of creativity, and I was like, what's happening? Got on the phone. There was just a moment of what's going on from her to me, and then she sort of jumped in and sort of named, she knew a little bit about me, so there was history, but she kind of named, like, bullet point by bullet point of what was going on. So your creativity, these are some examples of what came out of her mouth. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but your creativity is no longer having a good home. You've reached the glass ceiling of your business life. You're traveling too much and you're somewhat exhausted, and you miss your partner terribly, and you're spending a lot of time trying to figure it out all by yourself. Okay, it was like she was mind reading, right? That was a classic example of being the voice that's going on inside my head. And of course it turned into, I need some mentorship here, because you've just named my problem, you've named my situation. And I think we sometimes don't give ourselves enough permission to do that. Just don't be right. There's the classic example. Say it and then go, what do you think about what I said? Okay, let's go to the final one. The clear offer and the ask. This is the detail of, will you buy my product? Will you come join me at this event? The clear ask. And what is the offer? What am I actually selling you? It's a year-long program. Here's what you get. Here's what's going to happen inside of it. Here's our belief about why we think it works. Come join us for a year. Will you join us? Here's the document to see if it's right for you. The clear offer and the clear ask. Many times we do all that enrollment conversation, we forget to go, do you want it? Pretty simple. So there's a high level of 8 key components or dimensions that I dare say are part of enrollment. Deeper cuts on these as we get together and stay together throughout the year. Okay, now I'm going to go to this week. Back to this week. Okay, Chuck's giving me a little bit of like move over. Not sure why. That wasn't enrolling, that was directing. Okay, this is a day 1 through day 3 exercise, okay? It's a 3-parter, and this is about resonance and presence. This is the context of this exercise. And I want to give this credit right out of the gate. I did some remarkable work with Lisa Danley and Janine Mancusi, and their work is remarkable around inner resonance and how that creates our outer life. And they call it lucid living. If you want to check it out, lucidliving.net is the place to go. Don't want to really do a commercial here, but the inner work here is remarkable. And they've given me license to talk about this as a context. So I'm going to give you the overall training of it first, and then I'll give you the actual exercise. So as humans, as people, we're playing out 3 stories. And we come into the world as tiny little babies, and we're starting off in what is called the victim story. And many of us don't like that word, right? I'm not a victim. Well, in the truth of the matter is I can't feed myself, I can't take care of myself. Any can't take care of myself context means we are somewhat of a victim of the circumstances. And by the way, victim is both positive and negative. We have victim as a negative thing, like, I've been a victim of a horrible circumstance. Some of us have been victims of amazing, profound circumstances. I have a friend of mine who won the lottery. That's still victim energy, but on the positive side, just sort of circumstantially happened. Okay? So victim is not good or bad. I really want to sort of normalize this concept. And the energy of, and the language that goes with the victim story is life is happening to us. Right? Life happens to me. Right? And as we grow up and we start to become more emotionally intelligent, aware, responsible, can take care of ourselves, we move to what is called the second story, which they call the overcome story. The overcome story. This is the land of, here's the circumstance, look at me, I overcame it. And not a bad story. It's a beautiful way to get through life, and our culture loves this story. Oprah loves this story. This is where we write books from. So I want to be careful. This is not a bad place to operate from. The challenge of it is if we don't go to the next level, which I'll give you in a moment, it becomes a bit of a rut and we keep generating things to overcome. It becomes like a pattern. And then I overcame this, and then I overcame this, and it starts to become exhausting. It starts to become really exhausting when there's just another new circumstance to overcome. So the third place to operate life from, or let's even call it a consciousness level, is what they call the great story. This is the great story. So there's victim, overcome, and great story. Now the great story is the land of, I have consciously, unconsciously, my soul maybe, whatever language you like to use, has co-created these circumstances in my life to then be able to point my life in the direction of the good work I'm here to do and the good work I'm here to create. So it actually lives in the land of I've created, co-created, let's say it that way, these circumstances so that I could stand in front of you and actually be talking about this on this video with you right now. So basically the language that goes with this, you've heard me say this before, is this is life is happening for you. Victim is to you, overcome is I got through it, I got overcame it, and great story is for you. Now this can be super hard to digest when we're dealing with very hard circumstances. I mean, let's be real, cancer, death, the dark stuff of the human condition. So I want to be very careful that you don't run out and talk about this to people. This is for you to have you understand your presence and your resonance this week. That's what this is about. Okay? So those are the three stories. This is all in service of heading you towards understanding on some grand level, great level, that we have all co-created these circumstances that then points your life in this direction of the good work that you want to bring to the world. That's its context, okay? So let me go to the homework then. Day one is to write your victim story. Just write it out. And this is the hardest one to write because your consciousness level is going to not let you because you're already beyond it, most of us. But let yourself drop into that lower energy, that lower perspective of, this happened to me, then this happened, and then, then my mom, and then my dad, and then I didn't get into that college, and then I had this good job, and then they fired me, and then the recession happened, and then I almost lost my house, and let yourself write it that way. It'll feel sort of like you want to take a shower afterward. That's fine. You're welcome to go do that, okay? And don't do day two until day two. Just kind of let yourself write that story. Let yourself sort of hang in that energy in that space of that victim space, okay? Two reasons. First of all, to have you really embody the victim that lives in all of us, which is really hard to get. But here's how it's going to serve you with your clients, because your clients, consciously or unconsciously, many of them are playing out the victim story and they don't even notice it. So by you noticing it in yourself, you're going to notice it in others. Right? It's sort of like if I can see it here, I can then see it there. Without making it wrong. This is a normalizing exercise. This is actually not a changing exercise. To normalize that we're all playing out this story on some level. Okay? And here's the other perspective on this. At some level, the victim story is still going on. It never leaves us on some level. So again, it's a normalizing, it's a welcoming, it's an embracing context. Okay? That's day one, victim story. Day two, you rewrite your life story from the overcome story. Now you add in the piece, and you don't have to write it all out probably, day one you've already kind of written the victim story. You can now add in, maybe it's in between the lines, sort of like, yeah, that happened, but then I did that, and then that happened, and then I got into college, and then that happened, and then I did, so just add in, and it could be just line by line, add in the overcomes part of the story. And see what you feel in that context. This one, good information will come out of it, can be resourceful in terms of talking about your work in the world, but this is the one that actually can, again, the dark side of this becomes a habit. On some level, this is a perspective to try on. We then keep generating things to overcome so our ego gets to look good. And we get to have a cool resume that says, look at me, I had this happen, and now look at who I've become. Not a bad story, but still in that ego sort of being bounced around by circumstance perspective, okay? So that's day 2, hang with that. And by the way, as you do these, send them to us, send them to me. Just, you're still sending the homework, right? I'm not gonna analyze them, I'm not gonna do anything heavy with them, just gonna add them to the mix because there's juice in all of them for talking about your good work in the world. Day 3, your great story. Now you're adding the piece of, this is what happened, this is how I overcame it, and this is now why I'm pulled to do the work I'm doing. This is now informing me. So the language to add to this sometimes is, so this happened and I overcame it for the sake of, and then point it in that direction. For the sake of, oh my gosh, I get to now do this great work in the world. Because I didn't even know I was pulled to do this work in the world. So this is the 3rd story. Now, a tip on writing the 3 stories, it doesn't have to be word for word. If you want to bullet point it, you want to draw a picture, be careful of you're not writing a 60-page book about your life. The highlights, just to get this going, okay? A reminder, this is all about owning these dimensions to ourselves. So your resonance is authentic and real when you be with your clients, because all 3 stories live in all humans. And so it's not about you've arrived and now you're in this nirvana state of the great story. But these are sort of like nesting dolls. They're all going on all the time. And I want to be the voice of your future here. When you have this context inside yourself, you become a bit of a magnet, because you're listening to people's lives and you're hearing their victim story, you're hearing their overcome story, and you're hearing their great story. And you can actually reflect it back without actually having to use the language of it. But you can go, wow, it sounds like that was hard for you. That really happened to you. That was a bummer. I don't mean to turn this into a coaching session, but you get the context in which you can listen to people through. It becomes wildly enrolling. So you can kind of get a sense, what I'm offering you here is how to listen to people's stories will open up the possibility that they want to come towards you even more, rather than you're just fixing their problems. Okay, good enough on that. So then day 4, let me get out my glasses and make sure, okay, good. Now we're going to shift gears completely. It's less about you right now. It's more about finding something that you're passionate about. Just find something you're super passionate about. Something simple, by the way. Don't go to your work. Don't go to your thing that you do. Just like a restaurant, a movie, a Netflix gig, technology, your new iPhone. I don't care what it is. Something that's just like, wow, you just like, right? Food, favorite food, I don't care. And your job is to enroll somebody in it. Go enroll them into why they need this thing. Maybe practice with a friend, practice with your partner. This is just practicing the art of enthusiasm and being sort of like almost over the top about why you need to watch this Netflix thing. And a little tip, I wrote it down in here, Trader Joe's. Many of you know Trader Joe's. It's this amazingly successful store. There's no big ad campaign. There's no television ads whatsoever. They are completely a word of mouth based marketing plan. So you go in there and you find a product you love, and what do? You run off and tell 87 friends about this product. And we had people over for dinner just the other day, and all of a sudden they were, what's this thing we're eating? I said, oh, Trader Joe's. They're like, what is it? What aisle? You could feel literally their brain was going to, I got to go get this thing. So that's week 4. Have this be fun and playful, not too heavy. Days 1, 2, and 3 were a bit heavy about your life. Day 4, I think I said week 4 a minute ago. Day 4 is light and playful, okay? Okay, we're almost done, I promise. Let me go to day 5 of this enrollment week. So today is about finding a place or a person who you can now enroll into the thing that you're up to in your business. Now it's about your business. Go to a place, go to a coffee shop, pick up the phone, call somebody. It's the classic reach out. And I wouldn't necessarily leap right to enroll them into a coaching session, but maybe you enroll them into a philosophy you believe about life now, or maybe it's you have a particular stake or a stand that matters to you based on your homework thus far and you want to enroll somebody in it. Enrollment, by the way, doesn't need they need to believe it. You know, be careful of like they need to believe the thing that you're enrolling them in, but you're offering them a way to look at something or to come into your world, and it might open up the possibility of they do want to join your list, possibly. Okay, so this gets, you know, the day before, day 4 was about something else. Now it's about your work. Okay, go do it. Take some notes. Send it to us. What'd you learn? What was hard? What was fun? What was easy? You know, the classic assessment. Okay. Okay, now we're into day 6. So this is a return back to your great story, which is day 3. I'm just going to read it. Go back to your great story from day 3 and create a short, no more than 5-minute enrollment video using a part of your great story as the doorway into why folks should work with you. It's about using the great story wisdom, an actual story, in a way that would enroll people into your world. We'd love you to post it on the Produce You 2020 Facebook group. Bonus points if you decide to go public with it. You don't have to, okay? So here's the thing. I'm gonna, on a different video, not here, I'm gonna give you an example of what this looks like. So be sure to go watch that first before you do this homework, just to give you a sense of it, okay? This is a game changer. When you realize that you can use your life story from a great story context to enroll people into your world, the whole thing can change. Okay, so that's day 6. I dare say that's probably the most vulnerable, just to name it. You probably have a little vulnerability hangover after that. Oh well. Day 7, rest and enjoy. We always want to remind you, what can you do to take care of yourself today? This is day 7, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then I think we say at the bottom, do at least one really fun thing today. One thing today. This was a big week. Lots is going to come up. Try to hang with it. You know, try to do each thing day to day, okay? Okay, bit longer video, useful, lots of things to double click on, reach out, you know where we are. Everybody take a big deep breath, myself included. More. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I took a big deep breath and lost my voice. Isn't that interesting? We'll see you shortly on the next video. Thanks.